Somebody needs to hear this today. The hand of God is about to touch your circumstance. You've been praying, believing, and standing when everything around you said, "It's over." But God told me to tell you it's not over. It's about to shift. Because when the hand of God moves, things that were bound start to break. What was stuck starts to flow. What was lost begins to rise again. You see, one touch from God can change everything. The doctors might have said it's impossible. The report might not look good. The bank account might be empty. The relationship might be broken. But hear me, when the hand of God touches it, impossibility becomes opportunity. That sickness becomes a story of healing. That loss becomes a lesson of restoration. That setback becomes a setup for something greater. When God's hand touches a life, everything shifts. He touched blind eyes, and they opened. He touched a leper, and he was cleansed. He touched a coffin, and a dead boy rose. That same power, that same touch, that same hand, is reaching toward your situation right now. You've cried enough tears. You've carried that weight long enough. You've wrestled with that burden too long. But God is saying, I'm about to put my hand on it. He's about to put his hand on your children. He's about to put his hand on your finances. He's about to put his hand on your body. He's about to put his hand on that dream you thought was dead. And when his hand touches it, everything changes. Because the same hand that created the heavens and the earth is the hand that still reaches down into your life. The same hand that parted the Red Sea, that fed the multitude, that lifted Peter out of the water, that hand has not lost its power. That hand is not too short to save, not too weak to deliver, not too far to reach you. Some of you think God forgot you, but he didn't. He was preparing the perfect moment to move. Sometimes he waits until every human option fails, so when his hand shows up, no one can take the credit. He's about to prove to your enemies that his hand still moves mountains, opens doors, and breaks chains. You've been faithful in the fire, steadfast in the storm, patient in the process. And now the hand of God is about to rest on your life in a way that no one can deny. Favor is about to locate you. Healing is about to overtake you. Opportunities are about to chase you down. And when you come out of this, you'll know it wasn't luck. It wasn't chance. It wasn't coincidence. It was the hand of God. So lift your head, dry your tears, straighten your shoulders, because the same hand that held you in the dark is about to lift you into the light. The same hand that steadied you through the storm is about to settle you in your season of breakthrough. Get ready. The hand of God is about to touch your circumstance, and when it does, no devil in hell, no power on earth, and no force of darkness will be able to stop what he's about to do in your life. When God puts his hand on it, everything changes. One touch from heaven can turn years of frustration into a moment of transformation. You've been trying to fix it, push it, force it, make it happen, but when God lays his hand on it, what was heavy becomes light. What was broken becomes whole. What was impossible suddenly becomes reality. His hand carries authority. His touch carries power. His presence carries the kind of weight that shifts everything it touches. And I came to tell you, the hand of God is about to rest on what's been worrying you. You can labor and strive and plan and prepare, but there comes a moment when human effort runs out and divine power has to step in. That's the moment when grace touches your grind, when heaven meets earth, when the supernatural invades the natural. Think about it. When Jesus touched the blind man's eyes, sight came instantly. When he laid his hand on a sick child, healing flowed. When he touched the casket of the widow's son, death had to release its grip. One touch shifted everything. The same God who moved then is still moving now. The same hand that brought life in the streets of Galilee is reaching for your circumstance today. Sometimes all it takes is one touch. You can be carrying the same burden for years, walking through the same pain, trapped in the same cycle, and then, suddenly, God touches it. The addiction that ruled you breaks. The depression that weighed you down lifts. The door that refused to open swings wide. That's the kind of God we serve, the God who doesn't need time, only opportunity, and your faith creates the opportunity. When you believe that He can, when you stretch your heart toward Him, His hand begins to move. We often think we need 1,000 things to change, but sometimes all we need is one touch. You don't need 100 solutions, you need one divine intervention. You don't need everyone to believe in you, you need one encounter with the hand of God. His touch carries the weight of eternity. It breaks what's unbreakable, it lifts what's immovable, it restores what's been lost. And once He puts His hand on something, no man can take it off. Look at Joseph, sold, betrayed, forgotten, but the Bible says, "The hand of the Lord was upon him, and he prospered in everything he did." It didn't matter who lied on him, who left him, or who tried to block him. The hand of God made him unstoppable. You can't curse what God has touched. You can't bury what God has anointed. You can't limit what His hand has lifted. Some of you have been wondering why certain things didn't work before. You had the idea, the plan, the passion, but it fell apart. Don't get discouraged. God was waiting for the right moment to touch it, because when His hand comes on it, no force in hell can stop it. When He puts His hand on your business, it flourishes. When He puts His hand on your family, it heals. When He puts His hand on your mind, peace replaces anxiety. His touch changes the trajectory of everything connected to you. So, stop trying to control what only God can complete. You've done all you can. Now let Him do what only He can. Lift it up to Him, that situation, that fear, that dream, and say, "Lord, touch it." Because when His hand touches it, grace replaces grind, purpose replaces pain, and favor replaces frustration. You're about to see doors open, hearts soften, and miracles manifest, not because of your effort, but because of His touch. When God puts His hand on it, everything changes. God's hand moves when your heart turns toward Him. Heaven does not respond to noise. It responds to sincerity. It's not about how loud you shout, but how deeply you believe. When your heart begins to lean into His presence, when your spirit becomes desperate for His will, that's when heaven starts shifting on your behalf. You don't have to chase blessings when your heart turns toward God. Blessings start chasing you. His hand doesn't move for those who perform religion. It moves for those who pursue relationship. When the posture of your heart aligns with the purpose of heaven, the impossible begins to bow to the will of God. There's something powerful about a heart that says, "God, I need you more than I need anything else." When you reach that place where your prayers aren't about stuff but about surrender, where you're not asking for convenience but for connection, where you stop chasing comfort and start chasing communion, that's when the hand of God begins to move. It's not that God isn't aware of your situation. It's not that He doesn't care. Sometimes he waits for your heart to turn so that when he moves, you'll recognize it was him and not you. We live in a world that teaches us to move fast, to control outcomes, to hustle for everything. But God's movement isn't triggered by speed, it's triggered by submission. You can't manipulate the hand of God, but you can attract it. A humble heart attracts heaven's attention. A repentant spirit pulls his power into your situation. When your heart says, "Lord, I can't do this without you," his hand says, "Then let me handle it for you." That's the exchange: surrender for strength, humility for help, obedience for overflow. Remember how the prodigal son came to himself. He was far from his father, lost, broken, and empty. But the moment his heart turned home, the father ran toward him. The father didn't wait for an explanation. He didn't demand a reason. He moved because the son's heart turned. That's how God responds. You don't have to have it all together. You don't have to fix everything before coming to him. You just have to turn your heart in his direction, and the moment you do, his hand starts moving toward you. You've been trying to figure out why things seem stuck. Maybe it's not that God hasn't heard you. Maybe he's waiting for your heart to shift from frustration to faith. Maybe he's waiting for your focus to move from fear to trust. Because when your heart turns, heaven takes notice. God doesn't move in response to panic. He moves in response to posture. A heart bowed before him can command miracles that a prideful spirit can never access. It's not about perfection, it's about pursuit. God isn't looking for flawless people. He's looking for willing ones. A willing heart opens the door for divine intervention. When you stop saying, "Why me?" and start saying, "Use me," when you stop asking, "When will this end?" and start asking, "What are you teaching me?" then you'll feel the shift. Because the moment your heart turns from bitterness to belief, from complaint to confidence, from despair to dependence, his hand begins to orchestrate your deliverance. You don't need to beg God to move. You just need to align your heart with his. Because the same God who parted seas and healed nations still responds to hunger. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. That hunger, that thirst, that yearning, it's the signal that makes heaven respond. When your heart truly turns toward him, doors open without you knocking, chains fall without you struggling, and miracles unfold without you striving. So turn your heart back to him, not just your words, not just your Sunday worship, but your whole heart. Because when your heart shifts, his hand lifts. When your heart reaches, his hand responds. And when your heart turns toward him, his hand turns everything in your favor. The hand that formed you is the same hand that will fix you. Before you ever had a problem, God had a plan. Before you ever faced a storm, he had already designed a solution. The same divine hand that sculpted you in your mother's womb, that breathed purpose into your being, that shaped your identity with care and precision, that same hand has never lost its strength. Its compassion or its craftsmanship. You are not too broken for the one who built you. You are not too damaged for the one who designed you. The same hand that formed you knows exactly how to restore you. Sometimes life will make you feel shattered, scattered, or forgotten. Circumstances will try to convince you that your story is over, that the damage is too deep, that what's been lost can't be found. But the God who created galaxies out of nothing does not abandon his creation. When something breaks in your life, he doesn't discard it, he repairs it. When something in you cracks under pressure, he doesn't replace you, he restores you. His hand is not only the hand of creation, but the hand of correction, restoration, and resurrection. When a potter sees a flaw in the clay, he doesn't throw it away. He places it back on the wheel, wets it again, and begins to reshape it. That's what God does with you. He puts his hand back on what seems ruined and begins to mold it again. You may feel like you've been spinning, like your life is going in circles. But what if you're not being punished, you're being processed? The pressure isn't meant to crush you, it's meant to create you. You're on the potter's wheel, and the potter knows exactly what he's doing. His hands never slip. His hands never shake. Every movement is intentional, every touch is purposeful. You may not understand the season you're in, but the one who formed you does. You may not see how it will work out, but the one who shaped your destiny already wrote the ending. You see, God doesn't just fix what's visible. He reaches into the unseen parts of your soul, the wounds you hide, the fears you bury, the doubts you don't speak, and he starts mending from inside out. His restoration is not surface level, it's soul deep. There's nothing you've been through that his hand can't redeem. That heartbreak, that mistake, that loss, it doesn't disqualify you. It refines you. The same hand that lifted Peter out of the water when he was sinking will lift you out of what's drowning you. The same hand that touched the leper and made him clean will touch your pain and make it pure. The same hand that wrote on the wall in Babylon can rewrite your story today. He knows how to rebuild what life has broken, how to repair what time has worn down, how to restore what the enemy tried to destroy. Don't believe the lie that you're too far gone. You were never out of his reach. Even when you fell, his hand was underneath you. Even when you ran, his hand was guiding you. Even when you gave up, his hand was still holding you together. You are still in the hands of the Creator, and he doesn't make mistakes. So stop trying to fix yourself. Stop trying to put the pieces together in your own strength. Place your life back in the potter's hands and let him do what he does best, create beauty from brokenness. Because the same hand that formed you in the beginning is the same hand that will fix you now. And when he's finished, you won't look like what you've been through. You'll come out stronger, wiser, purer, not because you held it together, but because his hand held you through it all. God is about to turn what was meant to break you into what will build you. Every storm that came to destroy you was secretly carrying the materials God needed to construct your destiny. You thought the pain was punishment, but it was preparation. You thought the loss was the end, but it was the foundation. Life has a way of testing you in ways that feel unbearable. But God has a way of using those very moments to reveal who you really are. You see, the enemy always attacks what carries purpose. If you've been through pressure, it's because there's power inside of you. If you've been crushed, it's because something valuable was within you. What was meant to break you is about to become the reason you're blessed. There's a divine principle at work. Every trial, every tear, every betrayal is a seed. It may fall into the dirt of your pain, but it's not buried to die, it's buried to grow. The enemy saw what you were carrying and tried to bury you, not realizing that God planted you. He thought he was ending you, but he was actually positioning you. That heartbreak that almost broke you apart, it's going to make you wiser. That loss that shattered your peace, it's going to teach you faith. That rejection that wounded you, it's going to push you into the arms of your real purpose. God doesn't waste pain. He doesn't allow battles without building something out of them. Think about Joseph, thrown into a pit by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused and imprisoned. Everything in his story screamed broken, but God was building a man who could handle the weight of destiny. By the time Joseph stood before Pharaoh, he wasn't bitter, he was better. He could look back and say, "What you meant for evil, God meant for good." That's not just a statement, that's a revelation. Because what was meant to destroy, you can't win when God's hand is involved. His purpose always prevails over your pain. Maybe right now you're standing in the middle of something that doesn't make sense. You're wondering why it happened, why it hurt so much, why it took so long. But you need to understand God is building endurance, character, and faith. He's strengthening you for what's ahead. You can't carry future glory with present weakness. You can't step into destiny with fragile faith. So he lets you go through the fire, not to burn you, but to refine you. And when you come out, you'll realize the fire didn't destroy you, it developed you. Every scar you carry is proof that you survived something that was meant to break you. Those scars are not signs of defeat, they're symbols of victory. You are stronger because of what you went through. You pray differently now, you see differently now. You love deeper, trust wiser, and walk stronger. That's what happens when God builds something from what was broken. He doesn't just restore, he reinforces. He doesn't just heal, he transforms. You won't just recover, you'll rise. Don't despise the season that broke you. It was never meant to end you, it was meant to educate you. Every delay developed you, every disappointment deepened you, every detour directed you. The hands of God are master builders. He uses even your mistakes as building blocks. What others used to wound you, he uses to shape you. What the enemy sent to crush your confidence, God will use to confirm your calling. You're stepping into a season where what hurt you will now help you. The same pressure that made you cry will now push you into purpose. The same situation that drained you will now drive you to destiny. Because when God's hand is on your life, nothing that was meant to break you can stop the building process. It may have cracked you, but it didn't crush you. It may have wounded you, but it didn't win. You survived because God is still constructing something powerful through your pain. So lift your head. What broke you is about to bless you. What hurt you is about to help you. And what tried to destroy you is about to become the very thing that delivers you. When his hand touches it, it multiplies. Whatever God touches never stays the same size. It grows, it expands, it overflows. When you put something in the hands of God, you are no longer working with addition. You're operating under multiplication. What you thought was small becomes significant. What seemed insufficient becomes more than enough. You may not have much right now, but when it's surrendered into divine hands, it carries the power to feed nations, move mountains, and change destinies. The key is not in how much you have. It's in whose hands it's in. Remember the story of the little boy with 5 loaves and 2 fish. In his hands, it was just a lunch. In Jesus' hands, it became a miracle. Thousands were fed, and there was still more left over. That's what happens when the hand of God touches what you offer. The boy didn't multiply the bread. God did. And he can do the same with your resources, your gifts, your time, and even your broken pieces. You may feel like what you carry is too little to make a difference, but in God's hands, the smallest seed carries the potential for supernatural harvest. The world teaches us to hold tight, to protect what we have, to keep it safe. But God calls us to release it. Because the moment you let go of what's in your hand, He releases what's in His. You cannot outgive God, you cannot outlove God, and you cannot outstretch His hand. When you trust Him with what you have, He multiplies it beyond anything you could have achieved in your own strength. Some of you are sitting on something small that looks insignificant, a dream, a talent, a prayer, a word. You've been underestimating it because it doesn't look big enough to change anything. But the hand of God specializes in using the little to accomplish the impossible. Think about it. He used a shepherd's staff to part the Red Sea, a stone in David's sling to defeat a giant, a handful of oil to save a widow from debt, and a manger to bring the Savior into the world. God doesn't need much to make a miracle. He just needs something surrendered. It's not about the size of your resource. It's about the strength of your faith. If you can put it in His hands, He can multiply it. Maybe you've been saying, God, I don't have enough. But God is saying, give me what you do have. Give me your effort, your trust, your obedience, your willingness, and watch what I do with it. The reason some people never experience multiplication is because they never release what's in their hand. They're holding on to control, fear, or pride when God is asking for surrender. But when you finally open your hand and place it into His, that's when multiplication begins. When His hand touches your finances, opportunities begin to appear. When His hand touches your ideas, creativity flows like a river. When His hand touches your family, generations are blessed. When His hand touches your heart, peace overflows. When His hand touches your purpose, what was limited begins to expand. Everything changes under His touch, because His touch carries life, increase, and divine acceleration. You may not see it right away, but every seed you've planted, every prayer you've prayed, every act of obedience you've made, God's hand is multiplying it behind the scenes. Don't despise small beginnings. Don't look down on the little you have left. In His hands, a little becomes more than enough. When God touches your situation, scarcity becomes surplus. Lack turns into abundance, and what was once empty begins to overflow. So stop worrying about how small it looks. Focus on where it's placed. Because when it's in His hands, it will multiply. The touch of God transforms ordinary into extraordinary, limited into limitless, and not enough into more than you could ever imagine. All you have to do is trust Him with what you have, and watch as His hand multiplies what you thought was too little into something you'll never be able to measure. His touch is the signal that the waiting is over. For some of you, this has been a long season of silence, a season where it felt like heaven had closed its doors, like your prayers were echoing in an empty room. You've cried, believed, and waited, wondering when God would move. You've seen others blessed, doors open for people around you, and you've whispered quietly, God, what about me? But I came to tell you, when the hand of God touches your circumstance, that's the sign that delay has expired. Every season of waiting has an appointed end, and when His touch comes, it announces, now is the time. Waiting doesn't mean God forgot you. It means He's been preparing you. There's a difference between being denied and being developed. Sometimes God hides you to shape you. Sometimes He delays the promise to strengthen the person who will carry it. You weren't waiting for Him to move. He was waiting for you to mature. And now that the waiting has done its work, now that your heart is steady and your faith is anchored, His touch is coming to confirm what he promised. His timing is perfect. And when his hand moves, everything that's been held back will start to flow freely. When his hand touches your life, it doesn't come as a whisper. It comes as a divine announcement. The touch of God doesn't just shift circumstances, it shifts seasons. What was hard suddenly becomes easy. What was blocked suddenly opens. What was dry begins to overflow. You've been walking through wilderness long enough. His touch is about to turn your desert into a garden. That one divine moment, that one encounter with his presence, breaks years of limitation. You may have been waiting for a long time, but when his hand moves, it doesn't take long for everything to change. Think about the woman with the issue of blood. 12 long years of suffering, 12 years of disappointment, 12 years of waiting, but one touch from Jesus, and her waiting ended instantly. She didn't need another doctor, another diagnosis, another season of pain. All she needed was one moment in the presence of God, one brush of his garment, one touch of his power. And just like that, her delay was destroyed. Her waiting turned into healing. Her hope became reality. That's what the touch of God does. It brings closure to cycles that should have ended years ago. You've been patient, you've been faithful, and you've endured. The waiting has tested your resolve, but it also built your readiness. And now, the very thing that's been delayed is about to be delivered. His hand is moving toward you, and when it touches your circumstance, it will be as if time itself bends to the will of heaven. What took years will happen in moments. What was stagnant will accelerate. What was lost will be restored. His touch redeems time. When God touches something, it carries a finality that man can't undo. No devil, no delay, no distraction can reverse his decree. His touch seals promises. It marks the moment when heaven's yes overpowers earth's not yet. The waiting may have been long, but it was not wasted. Every prayer you whispered, every tear you shed, every night you stayed strong when you wanted to quit. They all became the soil where your miracle could grow. Now, the wait is over. His touch is coming to confirm that it was worth it. You're about to see the reason for every delay, every detour, every disappointment. The hand of God is about to touch your circumstance, and when it does, no more waiting, no more wondering, no more wandering. It's manifestation time. The waiting season is ending, and the working hand of God is beginning. You've been faithful in the waiting, now get ready to be fruitful in the receiving. Because when his hand touches your life, it's heaven's way of saying, you've waited long enough. Now watch me do what only I can do.